Welcome, everyone, to episode 82 of Ohio Unsolved. I'm your host, Matthew, and in today's episode, we're going to continue from last week, and we're going to hear about the life, career, and murder of Tupac Shakur. So let's get right into the episode. Everyone sit back, make sure to lock your doors and windows, and get ready for Ohio Unsolved. Tupac Shakur, also known by his stage names Tupac and Machiavelli, was an American rapper and actor. He's widely considered one of the most influential and successful rappers of all time. Tupac is among the best-selling music artists, having sold more than 75 million records worldwide, with much of Tupac's music has been noted for addressing contemporary social issues that plagued inner cities, and he's considered a symbol of activism against inequality. Tupac was born in New York City to parents who were both political activists and Black Panther Party members. Raised by his mother, Afeni Shakur, he relocated to Baltimore in 1984 and to the San Francisco Bay Area in 1988. With the release of his debut album, Tupacalypse Now, in 1991, he became a central figure in West Coast hip-hop for his conscientious rap lyrics. Tupac achieved further critical and commercial successes with his follow-up albums. During the latter part of his career, Tupac was shot 5 times in the lobby of a New York recording studio and experienced legal troubles, including incarceration. In 1995, Tupac served 8 months in a prison on sexual abuse charges, but was released pending an appeal of his conviction. Following his release, he signed to Suge Knight's record label, Death Row Records, and became heavily involved in the growing East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was shot 4 times by an unidentified assailant in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. He died 6 days later. Following his murder, Tupac's friend turned rival, the Notorious B.I.G., was first considered to be a suspect due to their public feud. He was also murdered in another drive-by shooting 6 months later in March of 1997 while visiting Los Angeles. After his death, Tupac's double-length album, Greatest Hits, is one of his 2 releases, and one of only 9 hip-hop albums to have been certified diamond in the United States. 5 more albums have been released since Tupac's death, including his critically acclaimed album, The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, under his stage name Machiavelli, all of which have been certified platinum in the United States. In 2002, Tupac was inducted into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, and in 2017 he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. Rolling Stone ranked Tupac among the 100 greatest artists of all time, and in 2023 he was rewarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Tupac was born on June 16, 1971 in East Harlem, New York City. While born Lassane Parish Crooks, at age 1 he was renamed Tupac Amaru Shakur. He was named after Tupac Amaru II, the descendant of the last Incan ruler who was executed in Peru in 1781 after his failed revolt against Spanish rule. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, explained, I wanted him to have the name of revolutionary indigenous people in the world. I wanted him to know that he was part of a world culture and not just from a neighborhood. Tupac had an older stepbrother and a half-sister 2 years his junior. Tupac's parents, Afeni Shakur, born Alice Faye Williams in North Carolina, and his biological father, William Billy Garland, had been active Black Panther Party members in New York in the late 1960s and early 70s. A month before Tupac's birth, his mother was tried in New York City as part of the Panther 21 criminal trial, but she was acquitted of over 150 charges. Other family members who were involved in the Black Panthers' Black Liberation Army were convicted of serious crimes and imprisoned, including Tupac's stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, who spent 4 years among the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. Mutulu was apprehended in 1986 and subsequently convicted for a 1981 robbery of a Brinks armored truck, during which police officers and a guard were killed. Tupac's godfather, Elmer Geronimo Pratt, a high-ranking Black Panther, was convicted of murdering a school teacher during a 1968 robbery. After spending 27 years in prison, his conviction was overturned due to the prosecution's having concealed evidence that proved his innocence. Tupac's godmother is a former member of the Black Liberation Army who was convicted on the first-degree murder of a New Jersey state trooper and is still wanted by the FBI. In the 1980s, Tupac's mother found it difficult to find work, and she struggled with drug addiction. In 1984, his family moved from New York City to Baltimore, Maryland. There, he attended 8th grade at Roland Park Middle School, then 9th grade at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. He transferred to the Baltimore School for the Arts in the 10th grade, where he studied acting, poetry, jazz, and ballet. He performed in Shakespeare's plays, depicting timeless themes now seen in gang warfare, he would recall, and as the Mouse King role in the Nutcracker Ballet. At the Baltimore School for the Arts, Tupac befriended actress Jada Pinkett, who became a subject of some of his poems. With his friend Dana Smith as beatbox, he won competitions as the school's best rapper. Also known for his humor, he could mix with all crowds. He listened to a diverse range of music that included Kate Bush, Culture Club, Sinead O'Connor, and U2. Upon connecting with the Baltimore Young Communist League, Tupac dated Mary Baldridge, who was the daughter of the director of the local chapter of the Communist Party USA. Baldridge, who was white, was described as an attractive young woman who was raised to look past color. In 1988, Tupac moved to Marin City, California, an impoverished community in the San Francisco Bay Area. In nearby Mill Valley, he attended Tamaulipas High School, where he performed in several theater productions. He did not graduate from high school, but he did later earn his GED. Tupac began recording under the stage name MC New York in 1989. That year, he began attending the poetry classes of Leila Steinberg, and she soon would become his manager. Steinberg organized a concert for Tupac and his rap group Strictly Dope. Steinberg managed to get Tupac signed by Atron Gregory, manager of the rap group Digital Underground. In 1990, Gregory placed him with the Underground as a roadie and a backup dancer. In January of 1991, Tupac debuted under the stage name Tupac on Digital Underground under a new record label, Interscope Records, on the group's January 1991 single, Same Song. The song was featured on the soundtrack of the 1991 film Nothing But Trouble, starring Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Chevy Chase, and Demi Moore. And on a side note, that's one of my personal favorite movies, and they actually performed the song in the movie as well. The song opened the group's January 1991 EP titled This Is an EP Release, while Tupac appeared in the music video. At the request of Steinberg, Digital Underground co-founder Jimmy Chopmaster J. Drite worked with Tupac, Ray Love, and Deez in a DJ on their earliest studio recordings. Drite recalls that Tupac didn't work well as part of a group, and added, "This guy was on a mission from day one. Maybe he knew he wasn't going to be around 7 years later." From 1988 to 1991, Drite and Digital Underground produced Tupac's earliest work with his crew at the time, Strictly Dope. The recordings were rediscovered in 2000 and released as The Lost Tapes, circa 1989. Tupac Shakur sued to stop the sale of the recordings, but the suit was settled in June of 2001 and re-released as Beginnings, The Lost Tapes, 1988 to 1991. Tupac's early days with Digital Underground made him acquainted with Randy Stretch Walker, who along with his brother, dubbed Majesty, and a friend, debuted with an EP as a rap group and production team, Live Squad, in Queens, New York. Stretch was featured on a track of the Digital Underground's 1991 album, Sons of the P, became fast friends with Tupac, and Stretch recorded and performed together often. Tupac's debut album, Tupacalypse Now, alluding to the 1979 film Apocalypse Now, arrived in November of 1991. Some prominent rappers like Nas, Eminem, Game, and Talib Kweli cite it as an inspiration. Aside from If My Homie Calls, the singles Trapped and Brenda's Got a Baby poetically depict individual struggles under socioeconomic disadvantage. U.S. Vice President Dan Quayle said, "There's no reason for a record like this to be released. It has no place in our society." Tupac, finding himself misunderstood, explained in part, "I just wanted to rap about things that affected young black males. When I said that, I didn't know that I was going to tie myself down to just take all the blunts and hits for all the young black males, be the media's kicking post." In any case, Tupacalypse Now was certified gold. 500,000 copies sold. The album addresses urban black concerns said to remain relevant to the present day. Tupac's second album was released in February of 1993, and it was a critical and commercial success. It debuted at number 24 on the Pop Albums chart, an overall more hardcore album. It emphasizes Tupac's socio-political views and has a metallic production quality. The song Last Words features Ice Cube, co-writer of NWA's Fuck the Police, who in his own solo album had newly gone militantly political, and gangster rapper Ice-T, who in June of '92 had sparked controversy with his band Body Count's track Cop Killer. In its final release, Side A, tracks 1 to 8, is labeled The Black Side, while Side B, tracks 9 through 16, is The Dark Side. Nonetheless, the album carries the single I Get Around, a party anthem featuring Digital Underground's Shock G and Money B, which became Tupac's breakthrough, reaching number 11 on the pop singles charts. And it carries the optimistic compassion of another hit, Keep Your Head Up, an anthem for women's empowerment. The album was certified platinum with 1 million copies sold. In late 1993, Tupac formed the group Thug Life. Thug Life released its only album, Thug Life Volume 1, on October 11, 1994, which is certified gold. It carries the single Pour Out a Little Liquor, produced by Johnny J. Jackson, who would also produce much of Tupac's album All Eyes on Me. Usually, Thug Life performed live without Tupac. The track also appears on the 1994 film Above the Rim soundtrack. Due to gangster rap being under heavy criticism at the time, the album's original version was scrapped, and the album redone with mostly new tracks. Still, along with Stretch, Tupac would perform the first planned single, Out on Bail, which was never released, at the 1994 Source Awards. Tupac's first film appearance was in the 1991 film Nothing But Trouble, a cameo by the Digital Underground. In 1992, he starred in Juice, where he plays the fictional Roland Bishop, a militant and haunting individual. Rolling Stone's Peter Travers calls him the film's most magnetic figure. In 1993, Tupac starred alongside Janet Jackson in John Singleton's romance film Poetic Justice. Singleton later fired Tupac from the 1995 film Higher Learning because the studio would not finance the film following his arrest. For the lead role in the eventual 2001 film Baby Boy, a role played by Tyrese Gibson, Singleton originally had Tupac in mind. Ultimately, the set design includes a Tupac mural in the protagonist's bedroom, and the film's score includes Tupac's song Hail Mary. Director Alan Hughes had cast Tupac as sheriff in the 1993 film Menace to Society, but replaced him once Tupac assaulted him on set due to a discrepancy with the script. Nonetheless, in 2013, Hughes appraises that Tupac would have outshone the other actors because he was bigger than the movie. Tupac played a gangster called Birdie in the 1994 film Above the Rim. By the same accounts, that character had been modeled after former New York drug dealer Jacques Haitian Jack, who managed and promoted rappers. Tupac was introduced to him at a Queens nightclub. Reportedly, B.I.G. advised Tupac to avoid him, but Tupac disregarded the warning. Through Haitian Jack, Tupac met James Jenny Hinchman Rosemond, also a drug dealer who doubled as a music manager. Soon after Tupac's death, 3 more films starring him were released: Bullet in 96, Gridlocked in 97, and Gang Related in 97. In his 1995 interview with Vibe magazine, Tupac listed Jada Pinkett, Jasmine Gray, Treach, and Mickey Rourke among who were looking out for him while he was in prison. Tupac also mentioned that Madonna was a supportive friend. Madonna later revealed that they had dated in 1994. Tupac met Jada Pinkett while attending the Baltimore School for the Arts. She appeared in his music videos Keep Your Head Up and Temptations. She also came up with the concept for his California Love music video and had intended to direct it, but she removed herself from the project. In 1995, Jada Pinkett contributed $100,000 towards Tupac's bail as he awaited an appeal on his sexual abuse conviction. Speaking about Pinkett, Tupac stated, "Jada is my heart. She will be my friend for my whole life." And Jada said, "He was one of my best friends. He was like a brother. It was beyond friendship for us. The type of relationship we had, you only get that once in a lifetime." After Tupac was shot in 1994, he recuperated at Jasmine Guy's home. They had met during his guest appearance on the sitcom A Different World in 93. Guy appeared in his music video Temptations and later wrote his mother's 2004 biography, Afeni Shakur, Evolution of a Revolutionary. Tupac befriended Treach when they were both roadies on Public Enemy's tour in 1990. He made a cameo in Naughty by Nature's music video, Uptown Anthem, in 1992. Treach collaborated with Tupac on his song, Five Deadly Venoms, and appeared in his music video, Temptations. Treach was also a speaker at a public memorial service for Tupac in 1996. Tupac and Mickey Rourke formed a bond while filming the movie Bullet in 94. Mickey Rourke recalled that Tupac was there for me during some very hard times. Tupac had friendships with other celebrities, including Mike Tyson, Chuck D, Jim Carrey, and Alanis Morissette. In April of 96, Tupac said that he, Alanis Morissette, Snoop Dogg, and Suge Knight were planning to open a restaurant together. On April 29, 1995, Tupac married his then-girlfriend Keisha Morris, a pre-law student. Their marriage was annulled 10 months later. In a 1993 interview published in The Source, Tupac criticized record producer Quincy Jones for his interracial marriage to actress Peggy Lipton. Their daughter, Rashida Jones, responded with an irate open letter. Tupac later apologized to her sister, who he had begun dating in 1996. Tupac and Jones attended Men's Fashion Week in Milan and walked the runway together for a Versace fashion show. Jones was at their hotel in Las Vegas when Tupac was shot. In November of 1993, Tupac and two other men were charged in New York with sodomizing a woman in Tupac's hotel room. The woman, Ayanna Jackson, alleged that after she performed oral sex on Tupac at the public dance floor of a Manhattan nightclub, she went to his hotel room a day later. When Tupac, record executive Jacques Haitian Jack Agnet, Tupac's road manager Charles Fuller, an unidentified fourth man, apprehended and forced her to perform non-consensual oral sex on them. Tupac was also charged with illegal possession of a firearm, as two guns were found in the hotel room. Interviewed on the Arsenio Hall show, Tupac said that he was hurt that a woman would accuse me of taking something from her, as he had been raised in a female household and surrounded by women his whole life. On December 1st, 1994, Tupac was acquitted of 3 counts of sodomy and the associated gun charges, but convicted of 2 counts of first-degree sexual abuse for, quote, forcibly touching the woman's buttocks in his hotel room. Jurors have said that the lack of evidence stymied a sodomy conviction. In February of 1995, he was sentenced to 18 months to 4.5 years in a prison by a judge who decreed an act of brutal violence against a helpless woman. Tupac's lawyer characterized the sentence as, quote, out of line with the groping conviction and the setting of bail at $3 million as inhumane. Tupac's accuser later filed a civil suit against Tupac seeking $10 million for punitive damages, which was subsequently settled. After Tupac had been convicted of sexual abuse, Jacques Agnet's case was separated and closed via misdemeanor plea without incarceration. A.J. Benza reported in the New York Daily News that Tupac's new disdain for Agnet, who Shakur theorized had set him up with the case. Tupac reportedly believed his accuser was connected and had sexual relations with Agnet and James Roseman behind his 1994 Quad Studio shooting. Tupac began serving his prison sentence on sexual abuse charges at Rikers Island on February 14, 1995, before being transferred to Clinton Correctional Facility in March. While imprisoned, he began reading again, which he had been unable to do as his career progressed due to his marijuana and alcohol habits. Works such as The Prince by Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli and The Art of War by Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu sparked Tupac's interest in philosophy of war, and military strategy. On April 29, 1995, Tupac married his girlfriend Keisha Morris. The marriage was later annulled. While in prison, Tupac exchanged letters with celebrities such as Jim Carrey and Tony Danza, among others. He was also visited by Al Sharpton, who helped Tupac get released from solitary confinement. By October 1995, pending judicial appeal, Tupac was incarcerated in New York. On October 12th, he bonded out of the maximum security correctional facility in the process of appealing his conviction, once Suge Knight, CEO of Death Row Records, arranged for posting of his $1.4 million bond. On October 31st, 1993, Tupac was arrested in Atlanta for shooting 2 off-duty police officers, brothers Mark Whitewell and Scott Whitewell. The Atlanta police claimed that the shooting occurred after the brothers were almost struck by a car carrying Tupac while they were crossing the street with their wives. As they argued with the driver, Tupac's car pulled up and he shot the Whitewells in the butt and the abdomen. However, there are conflicting accounts that the Whitewells were harassing a black motorist and uttered racial slurs. According to some witnesses, Tupac and his entourage had fired in self-defense as Mark Whitewell shot at them first. Tupac was charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault. Mark Whitewell was charged with firing at Tupac's car and later with making false statements to investigators. Scott Whitewell admitted to possessing a gun he had taken from a Henry County police evidence room. Prosecutors ultimately dropped all charges against both parties. Mark Whitewell resigned from the force 7 months after the shooting. Both brothers filed civil suits against Tupac. Mark Whitwell's suit settled out of court, while Scott's $2 million lawsuit resulted in a default judgment entered against the rapper's estate in 1998. On November 30th, 1994, while in New York recording verses for a mixtape on Ron G, Tupac was reportedly distracted by his beeper. Music manager James "Jenny" Hinchman reportedly offered Tupac $7,000 to stop by Quad Studios in Times Square that night to record a verse for his client, Little Sean. Tupac was unsure, but agreed to the session as he needed the cash to offset legal costs. He arrived with Stretch and 1 or 2 others. In the lobby, 3 men robbed and beat him at gunpoint. Tupac resisted and was shot. Tupac speculated that the shooting had been a setup. Going against the doctor's advice, Tupac checked out of Metropolitan Hospital Center a few hours after surgery and secretly went to the house of actress Jasmine Guy to recuperate. The next day, Tupac arrived at a Manhattan courthouse, bandaged in a wheelchair, to receive the jury's verdict for his sexual abuse case. Tupac then posted a $25,000 bond, and he spent the next few weeks being cared for by his mother and a private doctor at Guy's home. The Fruit of Islam and former members of the Black Panther Party stood guard to protect him. In a 1995 interview with Vibe, Tupac accused Sean Combs, Jimmy Hinchman, and the Notorious B.I.G., who were at Quad Studios at the time, among others, of setting up or being privy to the November 94 robbery and shooting. Vibe alerted the names of the accused. The accusations were significant to the East Coast-West Coast rivalry in hip-hop in 1995, months after the robbery. Combs and the Notorious B.I.G. released a track, Who Shot Ya?, which Tupac took as a mockery of his shooting and thought that they could be responsible. So he released a diss song, Hit 'Em Up, in which he targeted Biggie, Combs, their record label, Junior Mafia, and at the end of Hit 'Em Up, he mentions rivals Mobb Deep and Chino XL. In March 2008, Chuck Phillips in the Los Angeles Times reported on the 94 ambush and shooting. The newspaper later retracted the article, since it relied partially on FBI documents that were later discovered to be forged, supplied by a man convicted of fraud. In June 2011, convicted murderer Dexter Isaac, incarcerated in Brooklyn, issued a confession that he had been one of the gunmen who had robbed and shot Tupac at Hinchman's order. Phillips then named Isaac as one of his own, retracted article's unnamed sources. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas, Nevada to celebrate his business partner Tracy Daniel Robinson's birthday and attended the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson boxing match with Suge Knight at the MGM Grand. Afterwards in the lobby, one of Suge Knight's associates spotted Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a Southside Compton Crip, and told Tupac he had tried to rob them earlier that year. The hotel's surveillance footage shows the ensuing assault on Anderson. Tupac soon stopped by his hotel room and then headed with Suge Knight to his Death Row nightclub, Club 662, in a black BMW sedan, part of a larger convoy. At about 11 p.m. on Las Vegas Boulevard, bicycle-mounted police stopped the car for its loud music and its lack of license plates. The plates were found in the trunk, and the car was released without a ticket. At about 11:15 p.m. at a stoplight, a white four-door late-model Cadillac pulled up to the passenger side. An occupant rapidly fired into the car. Tupac was struck 4 times, once in the arm, once in the thigh, and twice in the chest, with one bullet entering his right lung. Shards hit Suge Knight's head. Frank Alexander, Tupac's bodyguard, was not in the car at the time. He would say that he had been tasked to drive the car of Shakur's girlfriend, Kidda Jones. Tupac was taken to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, where he was heavily sedated and put on life support. In the intensive care unit on the afternoon of September 13, 1996, Tupac died from internal bleeding. He was pronounced dead at 4:03 p.m. The official cause of death are respiratory failure and cardiopulmonary arrest associated with multiple gunshot wounds. Tupac's body was cremated the next day. Members of the Outlaws, recalling a line in his song Black Jesus, although uncertain of the artist's attempt at a literal meaning, chose to interpret the request seriously, smoked some of his body's ashes after mixing them with marijuana. In 2002, investigative journalist Chuck Phillips, after a year of work, reported in the Los Angeles Times that Anderson, a Southside Compton Crip, having been attacked by Suge Knight and Tupac's entourage at the MGM Hotel after the boxing match, had fired the fatal gunshots, but that Las Vegas police had interviewed him only once, briefly, before his death in an unrelated shooting. Phillips' 2002 article also alleges the involvement of the notorious B.I.G. and several within New York City's criminal underworld. Both Anderson and Wallace denied involvement, while Wallace offered a confirmed alibi. Music journalist John Leland in the New York Times called the evidence inconclusive. In 2011, via the Freedom of Information Act, the FBI released documents related to its investigation, which described an extortion scheme by the Jewish Defense League, classified as a right-wing terrorist group by the FBI, that included making death threats against Tupac and other rappers, but did not indicate a direct connection to his murder. On July 18, 2023, the Las Vegas Police Department executed a search warrant in connection with Tupac's murder. Any information about that is still unknown, and if I can find it out, I will update. Well, that is going to do it for today's episode. I hope that everyone enjoyed the story, and if you did, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. A 5-star rating really helps others to find us. Don't forget to join us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube. If you do enjoy the show, please consider helping to support us by joining on Patreon, with monthly bonus episodes being available from the $5 tier. Once again, thank you all for listening, and make sure to keep your doors and windows locked, and stay ready for Ohio Unsolved.